You know cigarettes are bad for you. Everyone does. But here's something most people never think about. A cigarette contains over 600 additives. Not for flavor, not for preservation, for engineering. Every ingredient is there to optimize one thing: how efficiently nicotine enters your bloodstream and reaches your brain. The tobacco is just the carrier. This isn't a product, it's a delivery system. And the science behind it is more sophisticated than most pharmaceutical drugs. So what's actually in a cigarette? And why is every ingredient designed to make sure you can't stop? Tobacco itself is simple. It's a plant native to the Americas. Native Americans cultivated it for thousands of years, using it in ceremonies and medicine. When European explorers arrived in the 15th century, they brought tobacco back across the Atlantic. By the 1600s, it had become one of the most valuable commodities on Earth. Virginia's entire economy ran on it. Fortunes were built on dried leaves shipped across oceans. But here's the thing: traditional tobacco, smoked in pipes, chewed or snuffed, delivered nicotine slowly. Absorption was inefficient. The addiction was manageable. People smoked socially. They could take it or leave it. Then came the Industrial Revolution. In 1881, James Bonsack invented a machine that could roll 120,000 cigarettes per day. Suddenly, cigarettes were cheap, portable, and everywhere. But mass production created a new problem. How do you make millions of people addicted to your specific brand? The cigarette industry figured something out. If you could engineer how tobacco burned, how smoke traveled into lungs, how nicotine absorbed into blood, you could make the addiction nearly unbreakable. And over the past century, that's exactly what they did. Not through farming, through chemistry. Here's the thing nobody tells you. The tobacco in a modern cigarette is nothing like the plant in the field. After harvesting, leaves go through curing, a controlled process using heat and humidity that converts starches into sugars. Different methods create different tobacco types. Flue-cured Virginia is mild and high in sugar, smoke that's easier to inhale. Air-cured Burley is highly absorbent, perfect for soaking up additives. But curing is just the beginning. Modern cigarettes use reconstituted tobacco, a slurry of tobacco dust, stems, and scraps mixed with water and binding agents, formed into sheets, sliced into strips. This allows manufacturers to control every variable: nicotine content, burn rate, moisture level. Nothing is left to chance. The tobacco in your cigarette is an industrial product manufactured to precise specifications. Then come the additives. 600 of them. Each one has a purpose. Sugars and honey make smoke smoother, easier to inhale deeply without triggering a cough reflex. Cocoa and licorice contain bronchodilators that open airways, allowing smoke to penetrate further into lung tissue. Menthol numbs throat irritation, masking harshness that would normally make first-time smokers cough and stop. It's why menthol cigarettes are often starter cigarettes. But the most important additive is ammonia. Ammonia compounds convert nicotine into its freebase form, the same transformation used to make crack cocaine from powder cocaine. Freebase nicotine vaporizes at lower temperatures, crosses cell membranes faster, absorbs through lung tissue almost instantly. A cigarette with freebase nicotine hits the brain in 7 seconds, faster than intravenous injection. This is engineering at a molecular level. This is why cigarettes are harder to quit than heroin. The filter is another piece of theater. Introduced in the 1950s after cancer links emerged, filters were marketed as making cigarettes safer. They don't. Studies show filtered cigarettes deliver the same tar and nicotine as unfiltered ones. Smokers simply inhale deeper to compensate. The filter is psychological comfort, not physical protection. Light cigarettes were the same trick. Tiny ventilation holes in the filter diluted smoke during machine testing, producing lower tar numbers on packages. But smokers' fingers covered those holes. They got the same dose. Philip Morris internal documents called this the compensation effect. They knew. They marketed it anyway. Here's where it gets even darker. The burn rate of a cigarette is precisely calibrated. Too fast, and nicotine spikes, then crashes. Too slow, and the cigarette goes out between puffs. Modern cigarettes burn at exactly the right speed to maintain steady nicotine levels in blood. The paper itself contains burn accelerants. The tobacco density is optimized. Even the diameter is calculated. The goal is homeostasis, keeping your brain dependent on external nicotine just to feel normal. Not high, normal. So why is all this legal? Because tobacco was grandfathered in. When the FDA gained authority to regulate drugs, tobacco was explicitly excluded. Too politically powerful, too economically important. The 600 additives in cigarettes have never been safety tested the way food additives or pharmaceuticals are. Manufacturers aren't required to disclose specific formulations. They're not required to prove safety. The industry operates under rules written decades ago, before we understood addiction neuroscience, before we knew about freebase chemistry. The economics explain the rest. Tobacco generates over $12 billion in federal tax revenue annually. State governments collect billions more. Settlement money from lawsuits funds state budgets. Governments are financially dependent on the product they warn you about. The warnings on packages are regulatory theater, visible enough to satisfy public health advocates, ineffective enough to preserve the revenue stream. So next time you see a cigarette, you'll know what you're looking at. Not tobacco rolled in paper. A century of chemical engineering optimized for one purpose: making sure you come back for the next one. That's the process. We reveal how things actually work. If there's something you'd like us to explore, let us know. Until then, trust the process.